Chapter 3 Big Picture of Life Past and Future. Just as there are two types of truth, the type you experience, and the type you know with your mind, there are two big pictures of life. The preceding pages revealed the big picture of life experienced in the present. The following reveals the big picture of your immortal life, your past and future. If you die as an animal, you are reborn as an animal. If you die as a spiritual being, you are reborn as a spiritual being, so it is important to become one. There is no judge or judgment when you die, you will go where life forms like you go. If you live as an animal, you will be an animal in the next life. If you live as a spiritual being, you will continue to be one in your next life. As John Lennon said, it is like getting out of one car and into another. Ghosts, spirits do not live without a physical body of one kind or another. Ghosts or disembodied spirits that talk to people and haunt houses don't exist. If there were ghosts where people die, all hospitals would be haunted. The cycle of the mind, we know it can take about 3.5 billion years to evolve from plant bacteria to mankind, but we did not take that whole trip. Plant life is not conscious life, only animal life is, so we got on the evolutionary ladder when animal life evolved about 700 million years ago. Plant life does not have consciousness or a mind like animal life does. Cambrian explosion, when life became conscious, evolution really started moving fast. Consciousness hooked up evolution more directly to the collective unconscious, which greatly accelerated evolution. If you look at the fossil evidence, you will see that about 500 million years ago, evolution exploded on Earth. Life started evolving very fast when the weather permitted it to. It did this as a direct result of consciousness in combination with the right environment. Come together, where we are now has a lot in common with the Cambrian explosion 500 million years ago. Then, we went from single-cell animals to multiple-cell animals. We had to in order to survive the future changes on the planet. Single cells came together for the benefit of all, and we are doing it again. 36. GlobalTruthProject.com. Without the truth, it is every man for himself. With the truth, it is one for all, and all for one. The truth and communication technology are connecting us. Human beings are like big, single-cell animals. We are not directly connected to each other, but we are in the process of connecting directly with the universal truth and advanced communication technology in order to take the next step in our evolution. We will connect spiritually when the truth is realized by the human race. The connection, the ultimate truth will connect us, and the human race will become like one big organism. It will make the survival of the human race possible, and it transforms us into spiritual beings as individuals. Currently, we are at the top of the evolutionary cycle of this world. There is nowhere to go except to the bottom and start over, come back as a human again, or evolve into a spiritual being. There are only 3 ways to go. Always getting better. Many people think that life will always get better, that we are always evolving more and more. It is just wishful thinking. The evidence does not support that. Our physical life cycle shows that you physically progress until about age 20, and then you physically start going downhill, so things do not always get better and better, do they? They only do if you know the truth. The evidence shows that everything is going in a circle, a cycle. You will have to go to the end of the line, or it would not be fair to other animals in the evolutionary line. Evolution, linear or cyclical, all animals are doing the same thing, evolving. The big question is it linear or cyclical? If it is linear, we are way ahead of all other animal life on Earth. If it is cyclical, we are ahead and behind, because we are ahead now, at the top of the cycle, but start over at the bottom when we die. We have to assume it is a cycle, because everything else in the universe is in a cycle. We have to do what has the best chance of leaving the animal cycle for a better realm. A better realm is possible, one where you do not eat each other and there is no pain, fear, and death. Some religions call it heaven. They say the truth, learning it and spreading it, is the way. Science and common sense say the same thing, so learning and spreading the truth of life is the way to go. 37. GlobalTruthProject.com. The truth dictates that there are only 3 ways to go when you die. The best of the 3 options would be to move on while moving on is possible. If you start over at the bottom of the evolutionary cycle, you would have to live in the animal world, the world of fang and claw, for millions of lifespans before you get back in this position again. Who wants to do it again? We have done it at least once, why do it again? You can only leave the animal cycle and become a spiritual being when you are in our very rare position at the top. If you realize your true nature and begin to live the life of a spiritual being, you will not go to any animal level again. Use it or lose it. The only real difference between mankind and all other animals is our ability to reason and think. Thus, our minds have to be what we have to use to evolve further. We have to use what we evolved that separated us from all other animals to actually separate us forever from the animal realm. We have to use the last step we took to take the next step. Our only job is to become more than we are while we can. If we do not use our ability to know the truth of life, we may lose it, and we may have to go to the end of the line. Ultimate purpose. Since we are the only animal with a rational mind, we must use it for its ultimate purpose. We are the only animal that can learn and understand the world we live in. No other animal even knows it is going to die. There can only be one purpose for mankind, and that is to transcend mankind, evolve past mankind, and in doing, evolve past the animal world. If you die living just as ignorant of a life as an animal, you cannot be anything more in the next life. You have to change yourself. You have to become more than just a smart animal while you can. How can anything or anyone else do it for you? Even people who are living a good, moral life are still animals, they are just well-behaved animals. Criminals are the obvious animals, but at least they are being honest to their true nature. They are just acting like an animal acts. 38. GlobalTruthProject.com. Criminals live like animals. The worst is the serial killer, a recent and alarming development in our society. Serial killers are actually doing what comes natural to animals. All predatory animals live like serial killers, are serial killers. Costs everything. It is the natural way all lower animals live and always have lived. The predator-slash-prey relationship is the animal world. So people, a lot of people, are going back to their animal self, because they see no other good way to go, no reason not to do it. Religion is foolish in its current form, people do not believe it, even if they say they do, so it is not a powerful enough incentive to be moral and keep people from doing bad things to other people. Money/wealth does not bring fulfillment, so some people figure, why not have some animal satisfaction? They are going back to animal behavior that actually does fulfill them for a short while, but it costs them everything. Only the truth can give people a real concrete reason to be moral. It also gives them more than animal fulfillment, so they will rise above the animal. There is a lot of animal satisfaction in violent and predatory animal behavior, and that is why some people do it. The question they need to ask themselves is it worth the price? Everyone, even good people, have to ask that question. 39. GlobalTruthProject.com. The vents pictured on the previous page are where the first life on Earth is found, the actual bottom of our evolutionary cycle. Until just recently, we did not know that any life could live in superheated water miles down at the bottom of the ocean. The food chain starts down there with bacteria that feed on sulfur, hydrogen sulfide, that comes out of volcanic vents in the ocean floor. Scientists just discovered that this bacterium was the very first animal life on Earth, the start of the animal evolutionary cycle. These vents are called black smokers, because they spew black, sulfur-filled, superheated water. A few feet from the vents, the water is freezing cold. It is totally dark, as black as ink, no light reaches that depth of water. You have made your way from worm to man, and much in you is still worm. Friedrich Nietzsche. Giant tube worms, giant, blood-red tube worms eat the bacteria that live around the volcanic vents. The bacteria actually live in the worm's gut, in the belly of the beast, in a symbiotic relationship with the worm. 40. GlobalTruthProject.com. The blood-red tube worms pictured on the previous page grow up to 9 feet long, and can be over 200 years old. These animals live in total darkness, miles beneath the surface of the ocean. At the bottom of our evolutionary ladder is a form of bacteria that actually lives in the worm's stomach. There are more bacteria living in their stomachs than there are human beings on the earth. This is a fact. Living in the gut of a 9-foot worm, miles down at the bottom of the pitch-black, freezing cold ocean next to scalding hot vents is the bottom of the food chain. If you return to the bottom of the food chain, that is where you go. You will be eaten alive by other animals millions of times before you evolve into a human being again. We already did it, we had to do it to get to where we are now. The stakes could not be higher. If you miss this chance, you face millions of years and millions of fights to the death to claw your way back up the food chain. We just got out of the food chain 10,000 years ago. Going back into it is the biggest mistake possible, that is exactly where mankind is heading. Never forget what we had to go through to get to where we are now. We lived for millions of years in a savage world. People need to remember where they came from to know and appreciate how lucky they are to be where they are now, and how easy it would be to go back where we came from. Just a few minutes. Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. You have to know the situation to take advantage of it. What separates us from the beast is that we can know the situation. We can know it and leave it. We also have to remember the truth after we know it. The problem is that most people forget that their true purpose is to escape the animal realm. People get caught up in their everyday lives and forget. To forget one's purpose is the commonest form of stupidity. Friedrich Nietzsche. 41. GlobalTruthProject.com. Farthest from the light, those bacteria are farthest from the light and the farthest from spiritual life, both in distance and time. The way a bacteria feels is balanced like all animal life, so being one is not any better or worse than being any other animal life form. What makes it the worst thing to be is that you are the farthest away from where we are now. Those bacteria are at least 700 million years away. That makes it the worst place on Earth. Someone has to be bacteria, a lot of someones. There are more bacteria than there are human beings, a lot more. Why are they where they are, and why are you where you are? What did they do to get where they are? What did we do to get where we are? We did not do anything, and they did not do anything. We are both just animal life forms in different places on the evolutionary cycle on Earth. A life form can really only do one thing that matters, and that is to learn the truth and the life and become a spiritual being. You can only do it where we are now. Life clock. If the time life evolved on Earth was reduced to a 24-hour day, human beings evolved just 2 seconds from the end of the day. We take being human for granted. How can we do that with what we know now? What evolution means, it means we crawled on this Earth for a lot longer than we have walked on it. We were on the exact same Earth we are on now. We looked up at the same sky and saw the same moon, sun, and stars. The only difference is, we were living in a different type of body. We evolved from them, so the odds are we were them. If we were not them, who was? It had to be us. True or false? Just as you are looking out of human eyes now, you looked out of the eyes of a dinosaur. Life looked the same. The only difference is that you are looking from a different body. You should imagine what living in other bodies was like. When the dinosaurs went extinct, we went extinct as dinosaurs. Get it? Soul migration, just as energy cannot be created or destroyed, it is the same with life. When one life form or species goes extinct, another fills the void, and the soul, you, goes from body to body, species to species, reptile to mammal, etc. 42. GlobalTruthProject.com. As John Lennon said, death is like getting out of one car and into another. When one model becomes obsolete, it is replaced with a different, better model. Life does the same thing. Just as cars have evolved from the Model T to the models of today, Animal life evolved from bacteria to humans, and the drivers, us, remained the same. After the initial conscious life, souls, came to Earth as bacteria, the evidence says all animal life, including us, evolved from them, but the initial souls had to come from somewhere besides Earth. Most people do not see that there is absolute proof that souls migrated from some place other than Earth. 4.5 billion years ago, there was no life on Earth, so all life had to come from somewhere else. Soul migration is saying that reincarnation is true. The alternative, the you only live once theory, makes no sense. It would mean that if you were a maggot, or a rat, you got to live as only a maggot, rat, or one of the trillions of other types of life forms one time, and that was it for all of eternity. Big realization, when you read books and watch TV programs about evolution, they always talk about the animals as if we were not them. In the near future, people are going to make the connection and begin to see what the evidence is really saying. Acknowledging our true past is the next big step for mankind. The real missing link, when we link ourselves to our true past, mankind will start transforming into spiritual beings in the evolutionary blink of an eye. Most people cannot fathom just how long we lived as savage animals, and they need to in order to realize how new being in a human body is for us. A billion is a big number. If you started counting non-stop, day and night, 7 days a week, and said a new number every second, it would take almost 32 years for you to count to a billion. Animal life has been on Earth almost a billion years. If you put those seconds into years, you get an idea of how long we have been on Earth as some other form of life. Someone had to be those animals, and since we evolved directly from them, it had to be us. Nothing else would make sense, would it? We cannot remember any of our past lives, because when one of our bodies dies, our minds and memories die with them, but now we know, and it will change us. The truth sets you free. We may not remember we lived before, but we now know we did, and we must act on that knowledge if we do not want to go through the evolutionary cycle again. The truth sets you free from the animal cycle. 43. GlobalTruthProject.com. Time machine. If you could get in a time machine and go back in time at the rate of 100 years per second, you would only be mankind for about 2 minutes, and in a human body for about 20 minutes. For the next 13.8 hours, you would be in the body of apes and monkeys. After you go back about 7.5 days, at 100 years per second, you would be in the body of a dinosaur. For the rest of the next 25 years, going back at the rate of 100 years per second, you would be in an animal body that is below the dinosaur level. Most of the time, you would be living in the ocean, mostly as a form of bacteria and other microbes. The rock at the top of Mount Everest is marine limestone created by the shells of trillions of creatures that died at the bottom of the ocean. We were there when that rock formed. Some of those shells could be our shells. That rock moved from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the highest mountain at about 1 inch per year. We have been evolving during that same time into mankind. All we were was food in the food chain until just recently. You have been eaten alive millions of times by every species of predator that ever lived. Sharks have been on Earth for over 450 million years, longer than any other vertebrate. Humans have only been here 200,000 years, and mankind just 10,000 years. 15 million years ago, the king of all sharks lived, and it had the most powerful bite of any animal. It was called a megalodon, and was the size of a bus. It lived in all the world's oceans for millions of years longer than humans have been here. They were the top predator, just as we are now. We lived in that world. We were them and their prey, mostly whales. Our spirit went from predator to prey and back again for millions of years. Our spirit bounced back and forth from predator to prey and species to species as we evolved. Those dinosaur bones we are always digging up were part of someone's body that lived a long time ago. It is no different than digging up the skeleton of a human that lived long ago. Bones are proof of a living being that lived before. A million years from now, someone could dig up the bones that are in our bodies now. Would people understand that they belonged to someone that really lived? Would they understand that they could have been them? Would they realize that they could be digging up their own bones from another life they lived? 44. 100% of the evidence says it's true, there is no evidence of anything else. We have thousands of museums of natural history filled with the hard evidence of our evolution, and there is no hard evidence that anything else happened. Rational mind. A rational mind is the only thing that separates us from the lower animals. If we do not use it, we are not using what makes us special and superior to other animals. We are giving up what makes us different from other animals. If you do not use the rational mind, you are not using the one thing you need to use to learn the truth and take the next step in evolution. Reason is what we gained in our last step in evolution. It is what makes us mankind. We now have to use it to take the next step and become spiritual beings. Use it or lose it. When literally all of the evidence says evolution is true, and there is 0% hard evidence for anything else, a rational, honest person has to accept the fact that we came from lower animals. It is what a rational mind would conclude. If you do not have a rational mind, that is what is not right, not evolution. The evidence is sacred. Evidence is the most sacred thing that there is, because it reveals the truth. The truth reveals true life and sets you free. The evidence, the bones are found on our planet in the dirt we now walk on, and we know their age for certain. Their ages fit perfectly with how long it would take to evolve from them to us. Everything adds up perfectly. The bones are from animals that are in our direct genetic line. We are genetically less than 1% different from chimpanzees, and we are connected genetically to all the animal life that ever lived on this planet. Dinosaurs had 2 eyes, a brain, backbones, a heart, lungs, a stomach, blood, a mouth, a nose, 2 ears, and 4 limbs. They have the same basics we have now as humans. They slept, ate, mated, and were born and died, just as we do now. The evidence says that we were once them, that we evolved from them. There is no evidence that we came from somewhere else. Thus, we have to conclude it is true until there is better evidence to show we came from somewhere else. Everything in this book just says what the evidence says, nothing else. 45. GlobalTruthProject.com. There will never be any other evidence, because it would have to say the bones were planted just to fool us, and that makes no sense at all. We all know what the truth is, we are just in denial. The truth is the truth, and nothing is more important. We know we walked the earth in the bodies of dinosaurs for 800 times longer than we have been in human bodies. This is the first book about physical and spiritual truth based on evidence. There are many books about what is true, but this is the first one that just says what the evidence says is true, nothing more, nothing less. It is estimated that there are about 10 million species of animals on Earth. There may be as many as 100 million species. We are just one of them. The truth is, human beings are a small new twig on our evolutionary tree. Our spirit was not just the twig, it has been the whole tree of life on Earth. Human beings are just one of millions of different species of life on Earth. We are nothing special in the eyes of creation. We are just legions in our own minds, and we have created myths to glorify ourselves. Are we intelligent beings? We are special in the sense that we have a rational mind, but that is not a big deal, especially if you misuse it and spread deception, or do not use it at all. The life of all animals below humans is fundamentally the same. Creation has favored other life forms much more than human beings. Bacteria is by far the predominant life form on the planet. It is really their planet. Microbial life has been here the longest, and there are more of them than anything else. If mankind destroys itself, bacteria will survive and evolution will start over. Bacteria are becoming resistant to all our antibiotic drugs, and may kill mankind off in the near future. We are actually still in the food chain. Bacteria eats us. We are not more powerful than them. We have the brains, but they have the numbers. Their numbers could easily prevail over our intelligence if we do not start putting more of our resources into countering this coming war. 46. GlobalTruthProject.com. Out of sight may be out of mind, but the truth is, bacteria are everywhere, and they are alive and conscious of life as we are. If you look through a microscope at them, you can see for yourself. They eat and digest food, are born, die, reproduce, sleep, and avoid aversive stimuli, just as we do. What makes us different? Our minds. We use our minds to fight wars, to destroy the environment, and to deceive ourselves. One of the ways we deceive ourselves is by thinking we are separate from other animal life on Earth. We were them, and we can be again. The only real difference is that we can be different if we learn the ultimate truth. We are different only in knowledge and the ability to understand the world around us. If we do nothing with it, we are no different at all, and we will remain as animals, but not at the top of the food chain. The wheel of life keeps turning. Waste our advantage. Being thinking creatures is just a small difference, but this small difference can make all the difference if we use it. This is why we do not want to waste our intelligence believing that myths are the truth. It makes our greater intelligence useless. See clearly, evolution in action is the most terrifying thing there is. Nature is beautiful, but it is also a slaughterhouse, eat and be eaten. When everyone really sees nature for what it is, it will scare people into becoming something other than an animal. True knowledge of nature will evolve us out of it. Knowledge of nature, evolution, and our true past makes it possible to leave the animal realm. The wheel of life, you have been where all life has been in the past. You had to be there to be where you are now, we evolved from them. You will be there again unless you become a spiritual being and leave the animal evolutionary cycle. A life form only gets to be on top so long, as the wheel of life keeps turning. Rare/lucky, there are more bacteria on your skin and inside your body than there are human beings on the whole planet. This fact should emphasize just how rare and lucky it is to be human. The truth is what sets you free from the animal realm. The truth is what it looks like it is, and all honest, rational people know it. The truth is no wonderful fairy tale. It was inconceivably long and brutal. 47. GlobalTruthProject.com. The cusp. Something happened about 10,000 years ago that changed everything. It was the start of humans living in one place, in towns and cities. It was the start of a primitive civilization. It was also the start of agriculture, domestication of animals, and farms. It was the end of the hunter-gatherer way of life humans lived for the previous 190,000 years. It was the start of a completely new life form. Words, language, and thought evolved to a point that we connected to the collective unconscious at the level of our modern minds for the first time. This made it possible to receive knowledge through inspirations and logic. Technical progress did not start until about 10,000 years ago. We went from hunter-gatherers to where we are now in the evolutionary blink of an eye. About 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, the mind reached a critical mass. Warfare and other factors forced people to leave smaller villages and group together in larger cities, mainly because of the need for large armies. This put our technological progress in high gear. All the large monuments like pyramids started being built, and conquering armies started roaming the earth. It was the start of what we call modern civilization. We evolved and progressed more in the last 10,000 years than we did in the previous 700 million years. We had to become a new life form to do it. Human beings became a fundamentally new life form, mankind. We became a new life form in a very short period of time, and the same thing is happening again, only a lot faster. Mankind has reached a new cusp, the end of one life form and the beginning of another. Interchange. We gained the power to change our outside environment about 10,000 years ago, and over that time, we have changed it to suit our needs. We now have to change our inner environment, our minds. 48. GlobalTruthProject.com. Final step. Though we had some simple tools and were physically identical to how we are now 200,000 years ago, brain size, etc., we were still fundamentally no different than other animals. About 45,000 years ago, we took our first real step away from the animal realm, the realm of flesh. We started to speak language, have an imagination and use basic reasoning. It was the first cusp, and it happened because we hooked up with that level of the collective unconscious, so it happened to all human beings near the same time, even though we were spread out and not in contact with each other. About 10,000 years ago, we took the second step, the second cusp, and became mankind, mindkind. Now, we are about to take the third and final step. The third cusp, mankind is about to accomplish what it evolved to do. The human race is going to change into a new human life form for the third time. We will evolve from mankind, or mindkind, into spiritkind. We are becoming spiritual beings. Science cannot see the ultimate truth, because it is not really looking. They are lost in the endless, complicated parts of life, and do not even look at the simple whole of life, the big picture that includes consciousness. Intent. You cannot think your way to true life, because you cannot turn the mind off by thinking. It is a contradiction in terms, but you have to want it. You have to be seeking it with all your heart for it to come to you. You have to have faith in the truth to get it. Intent connects you to the collective unconscious. Some religions call it the Holy Spirit. In the universe there is an immeasurable, indescribable force which shamans call intent, and absolutely everything that exists in the entire cosmos is attached to intent by a connecting link. Carlos Castaneda. Not get it, many people will believe the old traditional myths until they die, even after they have learned a much more accurate interpretation of the truth. This is because they are not ready to take the last step in evolution. People will only see what they are ready to see. Ralph Waldo Emerson. They cannot understand the ultimate truth yet. They may have to come back as a human on the level of mankind a few more times. 49. GlobalTruthProject.com. Top of the animal cycle. You can come back as a man or woman in the next life if you do not hear the ultimate truth, or if you hear the ultimate truth but do not understand it. Most people in the past could not know the truth. You do not reach the top of the animal evolutionary cycle until you hear and understand the ultimate truth. People are where they are. Lower animals have no chance to know the ultimate truth, and it is the same with less evolved humans. In other words, if you do not know what you are doing, you will get another chance eventually. But if you do learn and understand the truth, you have to take advantage of it while you have the chance, or you pay the ultimate price. The crossroads. If you are told the ultimate truth and understand it, but do not begin to live in it, you will go to the bottom of the evolutionary cycle when you die. You had your chance, and you did not take it. Just about all mankind will know the ultimate truth, at least the mind part, in this generation. What they do after they know will seal their fate. If you are reading this book, you have heard the ultimate truth, because I have told you it. Only you know if you understand it and what it means. Unforgivable, if you understand the truth and do not at least try to take the next step and live in the truth, you are denying the truth and life, and there is no greater mistake you can make, no way to hurt yourself worse. When you die, you will be reborn at the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the food chain. You could be there in the next few minutes. It is hard to believe, but it is what all the evidence says, and that cannot be denied. The truth is serious business. It can bless you for a very long time or damn you for a very long time. You have to move up when you get the chance, or you automatically move down. Mankind is at the top of the animal evolutionary cycle, so when you move up, you move all the way up. When you move down, you move all the way down. You are now at the crossroads. Which way do you want to go? All people have to do is see the truth, they do not have to do anything else. Chapter 4 Heaven, Last Step in Evolution. Heaven. The next and last step in our evolution. Most people cannot see the animal world clearly. Everyone that sees it clearly will see that it is as ugly as it can get, unless you think being forced by hunger to murder your fellow beings and eating them is beautiful. The animal truth is as ugly as it gets, but the divine truth is as beautiful as it gets. Seeing the truth of both realms powers the evolution of animals into spiritual beings. If you become a spiritual being, you live the best life possible here, and when you die, you go to a place religions call heaven. It is a place without pain where everyone is fulfilled, there are all positives and no negatives. Evolving past pain, when we die and are reborn, the physical parts of our brains and nervous system that create and send us pain, fear, sadness and the other negative aspects of our current life will not be part of our new bodies. We will have evolved past them. We will have just enough pain to let us know when we are injured or sick and no more. Severe physical pain will not exist or be possible in bodies not wired for it. The part of our brain that is responsible for feeling pain and the other unwanted sensations will simply not be in our new bodies. We will be hardwired only for pleasure and fulfillment. Physical pleasure will come and go like in this life, but there will be no severe pain or undesirable feelings and emotions, and we will always be fulfilled by life. Just pleasure. We will be reborn with bodies that can feel pleasure better than we can feel it now, but our bodies will not be capable of perceiving the negative side of life. We will still be motivated to do things, because we will still want to feel the pleasure created by doing certain things. Spiritual life does not need the carrot and the stick, pleasure/pain, just the carrot. The need to feed and breed in combination with the natural environment will control what we do just as they do now. As I have pointed out, the physical universe cannot change and exist. 51. GlobalTruthProject.com. Fear/pain, the power of evolution. We no longer need severe pain, sadness, fear, and the other negative things to evolve. We did in the past. Fear and pain powered evolution. It is an animal's fear of pain and death that motivates them to evolve to avoid it better. It is the main power behind all animal evolution. It is powering the evolution of mankind into spiritual beings now. After you know the ultimate truth, evolution is finished, and fear and pain are no longer needed. We no longer need fear, severe pain, or any of the other negative aspects of life we needed to evolve. Thus, the ability to experience negative aspects of life will be discarded in the change from your current body to your new spiritual one. Nature never wastes anything, and if you do not need something, you will not have it. If you know the ultimate truth, you no longer need the negative side of life, so you will not have it. In the next life, we will have all the positives with just enough of the negatives to give definition to life. We had to have the negatives in the past in order to promote our evolution to the point where we could see the truth and the life, and we are there now. Thanks to genetic engineering and other advances in medical science, no one will age past young adulthood or die from any diseases. Live 1,000 years, we will have a very long life expectancy and never age, because aging is a disease that we will have cured. The medical evidence and the laws of probability say our lifespan will be about 1,000 years. We will use genetic engineering to slow our aging to adulthood, so childhood will last as long as we want it to. We will enjoy childhood for a much longer time. A short life was necessary for biological evolution. After you reach the peak of what biology can do, life no longer needs to be short. We have evolved biologically almost as far as we are going to naturally. Science will now evolve us further physically. You evolve mentally until you know the truth, and that is as far as it goes. Genetic engineering will be the force responsible for physical evolution from now on. Accidents will still happen in heaven, and people will still die from accidents. Our physical bodies will still be mortal like they are now. No one really wants a body that does not die. There will be situations when you will want to be able to get out of the body you are in and start over in a new body. If you are accidentally buried alive in an earthquake or avalanche, you would not want to be in that position forever, would you? If you were trapped in a fire, you would not want to be burned for hours and live in a mangled body forever, would you? Those things can and will happen, so physical death is necessary. 52. GlobalTruthProject.com. People will not age physically past about 18 or ever get sick, but eventually your body will be damaged in an accident beyond repair. You will be thankful that you can trade it in for a new one. In heaven, there will be no fear of death. Death and birth will be seen as the one event they really are. We will live knowing how life and death works for the first time. It makes all the difference. Taste death. When you die in heaven, you will be reborn in heaven as a baby and start a new life. This will go on forever. When religious books say we will live forever, will not taste death, etc., they mean spiritual death. We will never go back to being the living dead mankind is now. Physical death is part of the perfection. Heaven tech. In heaven, technology will progress forever. Everything that is possible to do, we will do. We will make contact with other life in the universe. We will keep all the old things we like such as music, classic cars, motorcycles, clothes and houses, etc. The best of the old will be mixed with the new. Natural disasters will still happen. Nature will be in complete control of our lives just as it is now, so our lives will change as it does. Nature will be the same, including the occasional natural disaster, but it does not bother you in heaven. It just serves to make life more surprising, interesting and romantic. Nature is what keeps the adventure of life moving. Life is nature, and when you see it clearly, it is the magic kingdom. You will live a life you can only dream about now. You will be beautiful if you are a woman, men will be handsome. Everyone will have a near-perfect body. Everyone is fearless, young, healthy, different, and completely alive. It is the way it could be, should be, and will be for those that learn the truth. Everything, even the bugs, fish, and bacteria will get to a permanent heaven, a place without predators, just plant eaters and plants. There will be limited pain and sorrow, and 90% of the time, we will be totally fulfilled, and almost totally fulfilled the other 10% of the time. It is the way it could be, should be, and will be. The only question is, how long will it take? I am shooting for no later than the next life, or as soon as possible. 53. GlobalTruthProject.com. There will be a heaven on earth, the only question is how long it will take. It could be 20 years, or 20 million years. It does not matter, because when we die, we will be reborn there, and no time will have passed from our own perspective. Everyone that has worked as a prophet long enough to change themselves will be there. Others will come back to the animal world in future generations when there are many more people, thousands, even millions, working on spreading the truth and creating a heaven on earth. Without predators, life on the animal level would reproduce until they used up the food resources and then starved off, which is almost as bad as being eaten. Life that knows the truth of life will control their reproduction to never overpopulate an environment. This is the reason the truth will make heaven, it has practical value. You will still avoid death. It will not be horrible like it is now, but it will still be the thing you will want to avoid most. The difference is, you do not fear it, and it is not painful, so in heaven, it just makes life more interesting. Death will not hurt or be feared, but it will be a major disruption of your life, and you will always try to avoid it when possible. Death is the opposite of life, so life will never like it and always avoid it when possible. Physical death is necessary from time to time for life to be perfect. When you know the truth and the life, you would not change the way life works, even if you could. You will be forever young, healthy, strong, beautiful, fearless, wise, witty, unique, funny, and completely fulfilled forever. It is as good as it can get and better than you can imagine. Love will be reflected in love forever. Right now, we are in a position to go to the best or worst place possible. If you know the truth and the life, you do not need any moral laws, because spiritual people naturally do the moral thing. They treat others as they would want to be treated. They see everyone as if they were them, they see them truly. Now is the time has finally come to see what has been hidden from us. It is time to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that people can see the truth and life clearly and completely for the first time. The evolution of technology, such as the internet and other forms of mass communication, have evolved enough to reach just about all of mankind. 54. GlobalTruthProject.com. One mind, it is the real reason why worldwide communication technology evolved. The worldwide internet web is mankind's effort to connect all minds on a conscious level, to create one conscious, collective mind. The telephone lines and cables that transmit the internet are like the nerves in a giant brain. People online are like the neurons. It is making the world one brain or mind. This network will make it possible to see the truth, transcend the mind, and live happily ever after. If it was not for the internet, you would not be reading this now, would you? Mankind will never be able to live together in peace and harmony. It never has and never will. It is impossible, because it is not in mankind's true nature. Mankind's true nature is the nature of the beast. People can and do resist it, but it cannot be changed by resisting and repressing it. Only the truth can overcome it. Mankind will always act like mankind when push comes to shove, and push will always come to shove. When it happens, the majority of mankind will always behave like the animals they are, which drags everyone down to the animal level. The beast must die, and the only way to kill it is with the truth. The only way to get rid of the beast is at the source. The beast must die for the spiritual being to be born. If the beast does not die, the whole human race will. We are all in an undeclared mental war for this world. People have it backwards. You are not reborn, the mind just dies, because it was never really alive in the first place. A spiritual being is not really born, because it is always inside you, it is hidden by the mind. The spirit cannot be born, it is immortal. Your spirit is imprisoned by your own mind, and only the truth sets it free. Becoming a spiritual being is not a destination, not the end of spiritual growth, because life becomes newer every day. You just grow in the spirit. Every day seems to get better and more fulfilling. Man is a rope, tied between beast and overman, a rope over an abyss. Friedrich Nietzsche. We have tamed the beast in most people, but mankind is still an animal just under the surface, and it will resurface more savage than ever. 55. GlobalTruthProject.com. It takes time to get complete control of your mind, but you can become a spiritual being the minute you know the truth and change your perspective to that of your spiritual self. The life, or greater perception, will follow, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, everyone is different. Your environment can help or hurt you. The swing trick, the mind has many tools and tricks to keep you from making contact with the truth and life. One of its most powerful ones is going from one extreme to another. The middle or center is where it is it, but you have to be there, totally conscious. People are looking for truth and love in all the wrong places. They are looking everywhere except the present, the only place life exists. You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. Henry David Thoreau. The problem and the solution are simple, but it is still possible mankind will miss the window of opportunity. Mankind thinks things will just keep getting better and better. The opposite is true. It cannot keep getting better, it is impossible for that to happen in the physical world. It goes back and forth from good to bad and vice versa. It will get worse, and when it does, it will bring out the beast in mankind. You can just look at our bloody history to see what will happen. Fool's paradise, the stable times we are in will pass, because it is the nature of nature to change. As sure as the world will keep turning, something will happen, and our true nature will reveal itself. We have to make the transition before it does. We are living in a fool's paradise, in a castle made of sand, in a house of cards, and the wind is starting to blow. People think it will never happen to them, when it is certain to happen. People think that nothing really bad can happen to them, that it only happens to other people. This is one of the most powerful deceptions created by the mind. Natural disasters will happen to people that know the truth also, but they will not make the situation worse by turning into violent animals. Social upheaval, it is the social upheaval that comes with major natural disasters that spiritual people will avoid. This upheaval often manifests as wars and social chaos that causes much more damage than the disaster itself. A light always burns the brightest before it burns out. Night follows day. 56. GlobalTruthProject.com. World War II. World War LL started the year the movie The Wizard of Oz came out, when fun-loving musicals were the most popular movies. There was not as much sex and violence in these movies as there is today. People were more refined and friendly, they did not lock their doors or have alarm systems. People were more civilized just before both world wars than we are now. You have to admit the human race has become a lot weirder, more lost, and a lot more dangerous. We need to face the fact that it can and will happen to us if we do not do something to stop it from happening. It is just a natural cycle. The most optimistic of times have always preceded this world's darkest days. Things before most disasters were just as they are now, people were asleep. Mankind has not changed. The only difference now is there are a lot more people, and we are more alienated, confused, vulnerable, and much more dangerous. We have been centralizing the necessities of life. The food, water, and electricity that everyone is now dependent on can be disrupted very easily, sending us right back to the laws of the jungle in just a few days. I do not know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Albert Einstein. The most important and dangerous difference is we have nuclear weapons. One modern thermonuclear bomb can have more destructive power than all the conventional bombs used in all the previous wars. The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything, save our modes of thinking, and we thus drift toward unparalleled catastrophe. Albert Einstein. You just have to look at the content of our movies and music to see where mankind is really at. Violence is at an all-time high in movies and music. Before the last World War, we had Bing Crosby singing White Christmas. It was much less likely that the last two world wars would happen than a world war happening today. Little sparks start big fires. The next world war is shaping up to be a war between religions, and this will make it much worse than any preceding war. Instead of fighting, we need to see the truth in religions. Einstein said there are two infinite things, the universe and man's stupidity. 57. GlobalTruthProject.com. The First World War started over one person shooting another person. One shot led to millions of shots being fired. It was the assassination of a member of a royal family. Everything happened over the honor of a royal family. It started the biggest bloodbath in history. That one shot set off a chain reaction that engulfed the whole world. The Second World War was just an extension of the first one. Hitler would not have gotten in power or did what he did if not for the First World War. It does not take much to set the world on fire. It will just take a little spark again, and our world will literally begin to explode, nuclear explosions this time. The sparks are flying in the Middle East, and the world is like gunpowder right now. Things could not be more dangerous, and most people do not even know it, which makes it even more dangerous. It would be like all the wars of the past stacked on top of each other. Winding a spring, we have been in a very peaceful, stable, and productive period since the end of World War II. It is the longest period of relative peace and prosperity that this many people have ever experienced. It is like winding a spring, so a balancing period is coming, and it could spring back all at once. If you look at our history, you will see that every few years, we have a major bloodbath. It is a cycle, and unless we change, the cycle will continue. The ultimate truth is the only thing that can stop it from happening. If it is going to happen, it will start soon. The transformation of man could happen at the same time, but the odds are against it. We need to do it before it happens. We have to change if we want the world to change. It is a reflection of us. The future, if the beast prevails, we know what will happen, because we know our bloody, savage history, but most people cannot imagine what the future will be like if we all begin to learn the ultimate truth. The following is how I see it. The rest of our current lifespan, in the past, we had to fight and kill to live. Now, for a brief period, mankind no longer has to hurt or kill its own kind to survive. We no longer need to live like the animals we evolved from. If we change, the world will change with us. 58. GlobalTruthProject.com. We are the government. People are always saying the government is doing this, the government is doing that, as if it is a separate entity. It is not separate, the government is us. People in government live in this country and have families like everyone else. If we are good, the government will be good. Baby boomers, the people that were young in the 60s have evolved into the establishment, more or less. The people that comprise the older generation, the World War generation, are dying off. The last of them are in their 80s and 90s, and they will all be gone in the next few years. Their powerful and inflexible mindset will go with them. Our fathers did what they had to do to save the world, it is our turn now. The greatest generation, that is just BS to make them feel good before they die. They look pretty good if you just look at our side and do not look at the whole picture. We were the good guys, but the bad guys were as bad as we were good. It was also the generation that produced Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Tojo, and many other really bad people. Their generation fought a world war that killed at least 70 million people, half civilians. They bombed cities, women, and children. The truth is, they had some of the best and some of the worst people, and they did some very good and very bad things. We do not want to follow in their footsteps. We cannot do it even if we wanted to, our weapons have become too powerful. President Eisenhower pointed out that mankind went from muskets to hydrogen bombs in his lifetime. Their generation invented nuclear weapons and chemical/biological weapons, weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. Their generation left us a very dangerous world, one that can kill the whole human race. There is nothing great about that. The almighty dollar, their generation believed that materialism was everything. They chased the almighty dollar all their life. They did not care how much they destroyed the environment, and they left us with a giant pollution machine that will kill us all if we do not stop it or rebuild the machine soon. They have also done their best to program our minds to do the same thing they did. They were very closed-minded. It was pretty egotistical, and it just shows how blind they were to the truth. It caused a lot of conflict and alienation in families. 59. GlobalTruthProject.com. The baby boomers are going to be the greatest generation if we do our job. We are the first generation in the history of the human race that can really do something that will make a difference. We can do something that could really be called great. We have to turn around what the greatest generation did, or there will be no future generations. Winning is everything. The winning is everything mentality was necessary to get us to where we are now, and it will be justified if we do what we have to. Pay off. The last generation will have done a great thing if we use the good things they did to help change people into spiritual beings. If we do not, both generations will be the worst that there has ever been, and there will be no future generations. If we want the last generation to be great, we will have to make what they did pay off, and we will have to be really great to do it. Square, I have no doubt that their intentions were noble, and they did what they believed was right for the world and us, but the truth is, they buried the truth in concrete, and we are going to have to dig it up fast, or the truth will stay buried. Their lives were simple, in black and white, just like their TVs. They were certain that they knew right from wrong. They could not know the truth, but we can. Living in the now, the baby boomers knew living in the present was the way to live. Many books were written on the subject in the 60s, but the time was not right, and it could not happen, no matter how hard people tried. The younger generation of the 60s has become the older generation. We are in charge now, we should have no problem doing what we want now, we are in charge. We are now the grown UPS, the establishment. The seed has been planted, and it is just waiting for the right environment for it to grow. We tried everything we could try, open marriages, drugs, all the religions, and we know what works and what does not work, so we know what to do. The people that grew up in the 60s are ready to get spiritual. They are just waiting for the truth to be revealed and until the time is right to start living a spiritual life. There is nothing to stop us now, so we can make it happen now. 60. Climb a mountain. You do not have to get a lot of money or knowledge or climb a mountain, cross an ocean, be a hero, win a gold medal, be beautiful or do anything other than live life completely to get to heaven. You do not need anything you do not always have. Anyone can have it all, at any age, at any time. The mind tells you that you need, the spirit tells you that you have. The mind tells you that you have to do this or that, be this or that. The truth is, you do not have to do anything or be anything. All you have to do is learn the truth and truly live your life as it is being given to you. The good life is living true life, and that is the simple and absolute truth. You just have to be yourself, where you are, with what you have to succeed. It is not hard, it is easy. It is not complicated, it is simple. People just have to wake up to the truth, and they will get it all and be saved from the animal realm. Money is not everything, the truth in life is everything. You choose. Wherever you look, there is something to see. The Talmud Divine. Love equals attention plus compassion. Divine awareness, divine love, is mostly just your total attention to life and everything and everyone in it. Total attention will give you everything, which you can then reflect back out to everyone. Carnal love is a passionate, hot form of love and desire. Divine love is a cool, self-contained love without desire. Love is just knowing the truth, and being in the present. It is that simple. Mind versus mind, you need the mind of man to get past the animal mind. That is why we evolved from lower animals to humans. You have to know the intellectual mind truth, the thought or word truth, before you can separate from the mind completely, thus, you have to be where we are now. You have to know you have a mind and its nature. You have to know you are really a spiritual being and the nature of spiritual things. You have to know you are going to die and be reborn. Since animals other than man cannot know it, they have no chance to get free from the mind and get to heaven. They have to evolve biologically into a human before they get the opportunity we have. On the other hand, mankind can evolve without changing bodies. 61. GlobalTruthProject.com. Animal mind. People that are trying to get clear of the mind usually learn how to turn off the conscious level of the mind in a short period of time, and then they go no further. This is because they think they are totally clear. Life is much more fulfilling without the conscious mind blocking it. When the conscious mind closes down, you are at the awareness level of all lower animals. You become as aware as dogs, cats, and all other lower animals. It is so fulfilling that people stop there. That does not mean you will see as well as an eagle or hear as well as a dog. All animals have some specialized senses that are stronger than other animals to help them survive and evolve. Our specialized sense that was superior to all other animals was and is our minds. It gave us a huge advantage over other animals and put us where we are, at the top of the food chain. It is all about being more aware of your environment. Our minds made us aware on a completely new level of perception. It not only gave us the power to conquer the animal world, it gives us the power to evolve ourselves and to manipulate our environment like no other animal. What mankind has been doing and could be doing in the future is unprecedented in the animal realm, and people take it for granted. It is the most wonderful and miraculous thing possible. You just have to know it, and use it to its full potential. When we learn the ultimate truth, the conscious and subconscious parts of our minds start to open themselves up and go into the background. It feels so good and is so fulfilling that people are not aware that there is anything else between them and life. There is, it is the instinctual part of our minds, the deepest part of our minds. It does not open itself up with the other parts. The instinctual mind is very powerful, and it is harder to see than the conscious mind. You see your conscious mind by just trying to get in touch with your life senses. When they are all clear and receiving all of the life coming to you, you can know that the conscious mind is not in your life. You cannot do that with the instinctual part of your mind. The instinctual part of your mind does not block your other senses very much, not enough to know it that way. Using that method to see it does not work. That is what makes it the most dangerous part of your mind. It is difficult and scary to get past. The instinctual part of your mind manifests itself as fear as well as racism, all other aggressive and violent animal behavior, and sex. 62. GlobalTruthProject.com. Hitler and Manson are examples of people that got their charisma and presence from living without the conscious mind much of the time. It gave them their power, but without the conscious mind to keep the instinctual mind in check, you have a very charismatic super predator. Hitler was more organized, Manson was more spontaneous, but they were on the same level. They got past fear, but not aggression. They were charismatic, fearless, and aggressive, and we all know the result of that state of mind. Manson and Hitler did not know they were living without the conscious mind, they did not turn it off deliberately. They were not aware that they had no conscience. They literally lost their minds, they did not take control of them as a spiritual being does. Only people that know the ultimate truth can turn off their mind. To go most of the way and then stop before you get past the instinctual mind can be a disaster. You will just be turning the beast loose at full power. You have to get past the fulfillment and fear of going further. If you stop, you will just be a very dangerous animal. This is why it is important to keep opening up until you connect with true life. You will know when it happens. The mind's last stand, as you begin to get past the instinctual mind, it can feel like you are dying. That fear usually stops you from going further until you realize it is not death, it is birth. You are dying to your mind self and being born to your spiritual self. Even when you think you are clear, keep opening up, it always gets better and better. To stop searching or opening up is to die spiritually. As the Bible says, you go from glory to glory, and it never ends. The key is to never stop seeking more, wanting more truth and life. Seeking never ends, you can know the truth completely, but never know the life completely. It is infinite, and to know it the best it can be known is achieved by constantly looking deeper, by constantly seeking it, being open to more of it. The beginning and the end, the instinctual mind is the last thing that holds you in the animal realm. Animal life started with the instinctual mind, and it will end with the instinctual mind. When you get past it, your spirit is free. The reason it is so hard to see and so hard to get past is our spirit has spent over 700 million years with the instinctual mind, we have only been with the conscious and subconscious mind for about 10,000 years. 63. GlobalTruthProject.com. The animal mind never goes away in this life, it is always lurking like a lion, so you have to be constantly vigilant. It is hardwired in our brains, so it is difficult to get past, but many of us can and will get past it. Others will stop at the instinctual mind and cause a lot of trouble with their newfound, charismatic presence. Everything, including the quest for enlightenment, is a double-edged sword. The price for many people becoming enlightened is many people going just part way and becoming more dangerous animals. Other people that live in the mind are always going to be a problem we will have to live with in this world. Until all people that live in the mind are gone, we are going to have to deal with them. Just being around other minds, especially strong ones, makes it almost impossible to stay completely mind-free and open to the present for very long. Great spirits are always opposed by mediocre minds. Albert Einstein. The good news is, once you know true life, you know it forever, because the collective unconscious will never let you forget the way. You will be able to live in the truth and life part-time for the rest of this lifespan, and when you die, you will be born into a place where you can live in the truth and true life full-time, because everyone else is in the present and knows the truth and the life. It is self-evident to them all the time, there is no mind opposing them as there is in this world now. I love acting. It is so much more real than life. Oscar Wilde. Living stars, successful stars of stage and screen are in the business of living in the present on cue. That is why we like watching them, we see the truth and the life in them. What makes a great actor great is their ability to be real and reflect the real. You can't fake it. You have to be like a mirror and take all the life there is in, and then reflect it back out to the camera or audience. That is why they are called stars. The stars in the sky shine with light, the stars in show business shine with life. The trick is to learn to do it all the time. 64. GlobalTruthProject.com. I couldn't think my way into better acting. I had to act my way into better thinking. Know the way. Most of the stars of show business cannot do it when they are alone, because they do not know how to do it, they do not know the way, the ultimate truth, the spiritual method. They cannot live like spiritual beings except during some rare moments when they are on stage or in front of the camera. When you are acting a part, you have a script. You know what is going to happen, so you do not have to think. That is why people in the movies seem more real than your own life, they are. It is one of those things that is the opposite of what people think. Actors are in the life business. They recreate and present true life. A spiritual being also knows what is going to happen, because they know the ultimate truth. This makes it possible to live without the mind. Acting something is thought to be not real, because you are play acting. It turns out that the act of playing someone else can reveal the real you. Spiritual beings can live like stars or mirrors of life anywhere. Be the star of your own movie, your life. Acting or playing someone else helps you realize that you are not your mind, because you are acting as if you are in someone else's mind. It makes you realize you are not someone else's mind, nor your own. The method acting is the art of living from the outside in. You are not even there. You are just a reaction or reflection of what is outside of you. Great actors such as Marlon Brando and James Dean use the method to get into the present and become the center of it. A spiritual being just does it all the time. It is all about becoming the truth and the life. This book just shows you how to do it. In acting, you include negative emotions if the role calls for it. In real life, you leave them out, because they are not needed and can cause problems. Many of the great actors and/or stars of the past knew how to get into the present intuitively. They had a connection with the collective unconscious or Holy Spirit. If you are into religion, they are the same thing. People like Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn were masters of getting into the present on cue, but because they did not know the ultimate truth, they were only fulfilled when working. 65. GlobalTruthProject.com. Acting/performing is a form of religion. It is a tool to become spiritual, at least while performing. It gives you a taste of the present so that you know what it is. Everyone should take up acting, at least for a hobby. There should be a small live theater in every neighborhood, and everyone should take a turn on stage in the light. It makes it a lot easier to get into the present, plus it can be fun, and it is a way to share the present. Knowing the fulfillment of the present is essential. It will motivate you to learn the truth and the life so that you can be fulfilled all the time. Know what is going to happen. Actors playing a role can live in the present, because they know what is going to happen. People that know the truth of life also know what is going to happen, so they can live in the present and be fulfilled all the time. If you know the ultimate truth, there is no unknown. It gives you absolute security, and this frees you to live life to the fullest. My doctrine is, live that thou mayest desire to live again, that is thy duty, for in any case, thou wilt live again. Friedrich Nietzsche. Childlike, not childish. In the future, people will play a lot. We will be childlike, but not childish or irresponsible. You will be filled with life like a child. Leaders, if the truth is seen by most of mankind in the near future, the human race will evolve past leaders and followers and any other real divisions between people. There will be people that are more popular than others are, but that is about it. It will go back and forth from lifespan to lifespan like everything else. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. That is the nature of living creatures. Friedrich Nietzsche. There will be a government, but not much of one. Most of it will be part-time volunteers. Instead of leaders, we will have teachers of the truth of life. One no longer becomes poor or rich, both require too much exertion. Who still wants to rule? Who obey? Both require too much exertion. Anyone that does not agree goes voluntarily into the asylum. Friedrich Nietzsche. People that know the truth of life lead themselves, they go where love leads. Yesterday, we obeyed kings and bent our necks before emperors. But today, we kneel only to truth, follow only beauty, and obey only love. Khalil Gibran. 66. GlobalTruthProject.com. Pain and fear, in addition to causing all the hate, deception, and discontent, the mind tries to close down your sense of feeling as much as it can to avoid physical pain. It does not work, pain will still hurt just as bad. The problem is that your sense of feeling stays closed even after the pain is gone. People try to hide from pain and end up hiding from true life. When the mind tries to shut out pain, it does not succeed, but it does succeed in shutting down your perception of true life. It is the worst bargain you can make. You have to embrace all of life completely, including physical pain. Trying to ignore life, any part of it, is the worst thing you can do. It is the only sin there is. You have to take the bitter with the sweet to live true life. You just have to remember the pain will pass and be compensated for with an equal amount of pleasure. You can be in pain and still be fulfilled. No one likes pain, and everyone will still try to avoid pain when they can, but when you cannot, you just have to suck it up and endure it until it passes. Why try to mentally avoid it when it does not work anyway? You have to take what is coming to you and take it all, no matter what it is. You cannot try to shut out pain without shutting out life. You can take pain medication to stop or relieve pain whenever you can, but never close your mind to the present. Separating the spiritual beings from the animals, it is easy to be completely open when life is good, almost anyone can do that. It is when times are bad, when you lose, when you fail, that it is most difficult. It is what separates the spiritual beings from the animals. It is the baptism of fire. Difficult or not, you have to be open to the present at all times. You have to want it with all of your heart, no matter what it is, and let it in, embrace it as your true love. Success is going from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm. Winston Churchill. Hardwired. Once you know the ultimate truth, you will be able to separate yourself from fear completely, along with all negative things created by the mind, but not physical pain, because it is hardwired into our bodies. Some people can mentally reduce pain for short periods of time, but most people cannot. Pain medication will help, but not always, and you will not always have access to pain medication. If there is no way to avoid it, why try? Physical pain will hurt as long as you are in your current body. Knowing the balance will help you through it, but it will not stop it. Pain is hardwired into our current bodies. It will not be in heaven, but we are not there yet. 67. GlobalTruthProject.com. Most of the pain, sadness, and discomfort in our lives is mental, a creation of our minds. Our minds create it, so they can stop creating it once we realize the truth, but we cannot do much about the physical pain in our lives. The pain caused by injuries or disease is real. It is real, and it cannot be avoided, but it comprises a small percent of most people's lives and is balanced by pleasure. Pain is concentrated pleasure, a little pain buys a lot of pleasure. You can never feel as good as you can feel bad. The worst pain feels a lot worse than the greatest pleasure feels good. Pain, especially from injuries, is a lot more concentrated and intense. The pain-pleasure balance is never equal in intensity or duration. A few minutes of extreme pain can equal months of feeling good or hours of pleasure. Fear factor. After you know the truth and start opening up to the life, you will become more fearful of dangerous situations. It is natural and to be expected. It tells you that you are on the right path and becoming more aware. The fear can serve a positive or negative purpose, depending on how you look at it. It can have a powerful negative effect if you let it close you down and make you less aware of the present. Never try to mentally hide from anything. Use fear as a cue to bring you into the present. Fear is a great positive if you let the fear make you more aware of life, let it bring you more into the present. Fear can make you more aware, more in the present. Fear is the mind's greatest tool to control you, but if you take control of it, fear can be used as your greatest tool to free yourself from the mind. What is now your worst enemy can become your best friend. Make fear your friend. Look at a coyote, it lives in constant fear and is aware of everything happening around it. Get into fear when it occurs, and use it to open you up to life. Never let it close you down more. As Marlon Brando says at the end of the movie Apocalypse Now, you have to make horror your friend, or it will be an enemy to truly fear. Fear never really goes away, because it is a reflex response to dangerous situations and is semi-hardwired into our bodies. The best you can do is separate yourself from it, see it for the mind-made thing it is, and not let it control you.